Dan's a fantastic man. He really is.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome.
What's going on, everybody? This is Dan French. It's another French Workbench podcast here on a Tuesday. And I appreciate everybody that's tuning in, that's already sitting there waiting for us to come on. This is your latest and most updated, we'll say, financing and real estate show as a podcast here in Las Vegas. And you guys will find all the right information here. So please, if you're going through the process, hit that like button if you like what you're hearing. Also subscribe if you also want to get more content and information. We have a lot of information today. We're going to talk today about what's going on with the housing market and an update from David. We're going to talk with David and also Sandy here. They're both real estate agents. We're going to talk to Mike here, Keeler. He's a financial planner. We're going to talk to him about what's going on in the money world. And we also have a title rep here who she's back, Esmeralda Lucia. She's from WFG. So let's get right into it. We're going to talk today about what's going on with the housing market. Is it going to end up in a forbearance crash? And I think everybody wants to know what's going to happen with this whole moratorium that's ended up, July 31st. And if you guys have any questions, please call into the studio here at 702-557-6176. A lot of good information. We can answer all your questions. I think we encompass pretty much everybody that may have questions on financing or real estate. So let's get right into it. David, what's going on with you today, buddy? How are you?
Doing pretty good, man. Just trying to stay out of this heat. 113 degrees today.
Yeah, it's crazy hot, isn't it?
AC. Yeah.
Yuck. Crazy hot. I mean, so what's going on in the housing market, man? You've been putting in offers. People are not looking at homes, right?
No, I mean, a lot of the buyers are just sight unseen. So we're doing a lot of offers sight unseen with these buyers. So
yeah.
It's a crazy market out there. Yeah.
That's nuts.
Yeah, so I also got Mr. Mike Keeler. He's back. He's here pretty much every Tuesday. What's going on with you today, Mike?
Living the American dream.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was up in Bryan Head for the weekend. It was nice and cool. I got to wear pants in the morning. It was cool.
You got to wear pants in the morning.
Yes, yeah.
There you go.
No, it was nice in the in the 50s at night. So
yeah,
it was wonderful. Good.
Cool, man. Cool. And we also got Sandy. She's back. And Sandy, where you been?
Oh, it's all over the place, but it's good to be back. Jealous of Mike. I also wish I could wear pants, but
I don't know, man. I don't think
it's way too hot right now.
Yeah.
Vegas is pretty hot.
Vegas is very hot
it's
right now.
Toasty.
Toasty.
Yeah, we also have Esmeralda Lucia. She's back. She's from WFG. Esmeralda, what's happening?
Hey, I'm just glad I'm here and there's AC in this room. And
yeah. You're happy to be here, right?
Yeah.
Is it what is this? What is Tuesday turned into over here, Sandy? What is it turned into? What is you said you came up with a name for it?
Oh my God, what was it?
I don't know. You had a perfect name for it, man. She was like, I don't know.
Check back to me. I'll look it up.
It was like
to
Happy
you.
Hour Tuesday or something
yeah,
like that. What was it?
Hot Market. No, it wasn't
Hot
that.
Market Happy Hour Tuesday? I don't know what it was.
Wait.
You should have written it down.
I did.
Dan.
I sent it
Why
to
didn't
Dan.
you write it down?
You guys, hold on. Come back. Circle back to me.
Hold on. We got to review that.
You gotta review
that
what it was.
podcast. We're
Hot
gonna
Market Happy Hour.
Hot Market Happy Hour.
There we go.
Okay.
Yeah.
With the Pod Squad.
With the
that's
pod
cute.
squad.
I like that.
You guys,
I don't know about
I'm on
that.
a roll. I didn't mean to swear. Sorry, guys.
Sorry.
But yeah.
Yeah,
Pod
I mean,
Squad.
so we got
So
a
have
nice...
you been sweating some listings for people, or what was
Trying.
that?
Yeah.
You sweat for
Sandy
people?
sweats
Sandy
for-
sweats.
For your,
that can't be your new nickname, can it?
no.
I didn't think it would be. So
Yeah.
You know, I did do a little bit of door knocking, and I'll tell you, you have to go before like 10 a.m.
door knocking for what?
to
Is it like
Go-
for
dollars.
Halloween?
door knocking for dollars. Yeah.
Treat, like,
Just in my neighborhood
Trick or
to
treat?
kind of generate some interest and
Oh,
see if
wow.
anyone is looking to sell. And at 10 a.m., it was over 100 degrees. So I was definitely like, all right, gotta either go earlier or wait until September,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, I think it's weird because I think, this time of year, not many people want to go out and look at homes. And we're starting to see that. It's, this time of year, too, investors are starting to kind of go out and do vacation. So, like, we're talking about big investors, right?
Yeah.
So there's not a lot of movement in the market right now. I think everybody's like, okay, it's my time to check out. Maybe even a little bit more than normal because we didn't really have this last year. Everybody was at home for the most part last year, right? Nobody
Yeah.
was really
Certainly.
traveling. So I think everybody's really taking this to another level. So yeah, we're looking at what's going on in the housing market and we want to give details. So let's talk a little bit about where we're at right now in Las Vegas. Let's give an update real quick. David and Sandy, I want to know, what are you guys going through right now with some of these buyers out there? Is the hot weather pushing these buyers on the outside and not wanting to do anything at this time? David, we'll start with you.
Yeah, definitely. We're seeing the demand start to go down a little bit, but the inventory is going up. So I just checked the inventory today. We're at 3,500 homes, single-family
that's
homes,
a lot.
Sweet.
and 5,100 in contract. So we have about 2 months supply in contract.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, so it's pretty good. So the inventory is going up a little bit. We're seeing that the demand going down. I think it has hand in hand to what you're saying, is people are getting out, back out there. They're starting to travel. They're starting to get out. It's actually so hot outside. It's people don't want to go out and look at houses right now. So
No, they don't.
the
man.
demand has
There's
ticked down a little bit,
opportunity.
which is actually making it a healthier market for us.
Yeah. So let's talk about where we were looking at pending sales. Let's talk about homes in general. Let's look and see what people are still buying homes. And we're looking at, a lot of people think that there's going to be a market crash. Even with the forbearance, it's going to be a forbearance crash. I'm starting to see a lot of data, though, that's showing, you look at the data that comes out, and this data, if you look at the mid-2000s, it's literally like this, right? Straight up, where prices just went crazy. And the data that I'm seeing is more of a gradual, it's more like this. And what that tells me is that we're entering into possibly a base position where things are just slowly, gradually coming back. It's not going from 0 to 100. The data that I'm looking at is pending sales are up, right? We all know COVID last year, but pending sales are up. Closed homes, purchase contracts and closed homes are up across the board. Employment is getting better. But you also look at, there's a lot of data out there that shows that, with people saving money, maybe not spending the stimulus checks, there's a lot of stuff going on where you look at the economy as a whole. And I just feel that we're slowly coming back. The data that I'm seeing is not showing that. Do you see anything different there, Mike?
Well, everybody always asks, is this going to be a crash like we had in 2009? And that was just because of stupidity. I mean, all the goofy mortgages on stated income, those types of things. When you've got all these cash buyers, there'll be some foreclosures from the forbearance, but I think there's going to be people ready to snap them up. I don't think there's going to be that much of a...
Well, yeah, we just talked about it on the last show. You got investors that are coming in, Blackstone coming in, buying a bunch of properties, and if there was such a threat, do you think big investments like that or big investors like that would actually come in and buy properties like that, David?
No, exactly. I mean, they read the market on a long-term basis, so they see exactly, the value in buying big tranches like that, big investments in their portfolios. So they see the long-term investment that they're making. Yeah, exactly.
And that's the point. They're thinking long-term. I mean, if it drops 5 or 10% in the short term, who cares? I mean, if they're in it for 10 or 15 years, it'll come back.
Would you agree that most people or more people now have options where maybe they didn't have options back in the mid-2000s? You look at options like maybe they didn't have money saved, or maybe they were getting into a house because we know there was poor lending practices back then. They were getting into a house that maybe they really couldn't afford. So when all these things started to change, what other liquidity did they have to back up on, right? And so you look at that, you look at the overall unemployment numbers that are out right now, and unemployment is still increasing. There's still a lot of jobs that people need to take on, but it's increasing. So I think people have consumer confidence in the market. With all these layers and all these things that are blending together, I really feel that yes, could there be a recession or a regression? Absolutely. But is it going to be a market crash or a forbearance crash? I don't see that data coming out. And I don't know. What do you see, Esmeralda? Did you see that?
I'm going to say there's not going to be a crash with forbearance right now, especially with some of the programs that are being released from the government, where there was that, I think it's 120 million that we actually got released for state of Nevada to help people with forbearance. So if that's taking place and that is something that will help, then I don't think that that's going to happen, at least not in Vegas. I mean, I don't know about every state, but that lets me know, like, okay, there's someone's coming to the rescue here.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, people have confidence right now, and I hate to say it, but there's a lot of confidence with people that maybe they think that, well, if everybody was worried about it, or there was such an issue, then they probably wouldn't be investing into this market. But you still see people constantly investing, and that tells me two things: is that one, people obviously are confident that they're going to be able to buy a home, but then sustain the home and the payment. And I don't know, there's just a lot of data out there that says that we're going to hit this forbearance crash, but it seems like all signs are not pointing to that,
Or maybe not now, maybe not this very second, but think about it like this. If even though that David said that, yeah, there was an increase in inventory, I would say that investors are buying because not everybody qualifies for a home, so they know that they can rent that house out. So that makes more sense because you're still making money on that property. And if you decide to sell tomorrow, you can probably get 30, 40 grand within 6 to a year, right? I don't know. I'm not a realtor, but Sandy, David, right? So that's what I see. And I think that's why investors are like, hey, let's still make money, even though it is probably, you know, a different market than it was 2004 or 5 or whatever that is. And
what do you think, Sandy? I mean, like, what are your thoughts? You're out there, you're in the trenches like David. What do you think about it?
Well, speaking of investments, I actually just submitted an offer on a house today. So that's why I'm on my phone right now. You know, I'm hearing some news that there's a stronger offer that is going way above the asking price, waiving the appraisal contingency. And it's kind of in that situation where you have to, you know, weigh, is the risk worth the reward?
Yeah.
So for us, you know, my husband's like, can we swing it? Probably. Are we going to? Probably not. But it's one of those situations where you have to think of it as a long-term investment. This is somewhere like we want to start a family. It's right across the street from where our family lives. So it's something that, you know, we really want. You know, it's a unicorn of a property.
Right.
It's one of those situations where over the course of our loan, is it going to be worth an extra 30 grand up front? Absolutely, it's going to be worth putting in a little bit extra just to get the deal done.
Right.
But for him, he's being, you know, smart, logical. But I'm emotional in this situation because I want it to be mine. So it's an investment.
It's an investment. You know, running at altitude over here puts in a pretty good comment here. It says moderate drop in number of loans in forbearance. He's absolutely right, because if you think about it, servicers are wanting to figure out how to help these people. And you also look at, we're at 2 million, and they said that if we hit like 15 to 20 million, that's the projection, or their thought would be for forbearance, and that's would be the crash, right? Well, it's actually gone the other direction. You know, it came down from 5 million to 2 million. So a lot of these people that are in this position are investors and have investment properties. And so, David, you have a lot of people that are investors. Are you seeing the same things out there where people that are investors are maybe a little bit more worried than the average, not average, but the primary residence holder?
Yeah, definitely. I think the investors are the ones that are going to be putting the properties on the market when this forbearance expires, rather than the primary homeowners, because the primary homeowners is their only property that they're living in with their family, and they're going to have no choice but to negotiate with the bank, either modification or, you know, renegotiate with the principal with the banks. So I think, like you're saying, the majority of the primary homeowners are going to stay in their properties. And what we're going to see is the landlords and the investors that are going to put their property on the market to try to liquidate. Because for them, it's an investment, right? They're making rent, they're making a monthly income on the property. So if they can liquidate the property, then it'll make a good investment.
Why do you think people want the crash to happen? I mean, I know why they want it to happen, right? I'm talking about the market
Everything's
crash.
on sale. Yay.
Everything's on sale, right? And everybody's looking for it. And it's like, see, I told you it was right. And we're not saying that we won't go through a recession, but I do feel that a lot of people are hoping and also predicting and have a strong influence that this market will crash, especially with this forbearance. And I think that's a big part of it. And so for me, I'm just trying to look at the situation going, well, let's look at the data. Let's look at what we have to support that. And there's a lot of data showing the exact opposite. You know, people are still buying homes in high numbers. There's no fall off from year over year. Like 2017, we still beat the number of homes sold, I think year or month over month, as far as like this last month compared to 2017's month. So it just says that people are still buying, and I don't see that there's anybody that's saying, well, I don't know, you know, we're not saving money or the market's too high. The confidence is just still there, and I don't know.
Well, I think it's like any market out there, they go in cycles. And the real estate market's been booming for quite a few years. It's the same thing with the stock market. People are kind of worrying, okay, when's it going to start fizzling out? There's no real data showing that it's going to, but you know it will eventually.
Well, I think we have to go through a recession. I'm not saying like a regression. Like we have to probably scale down a little bit. There's got to be more of an even playing field. But you know, when you go out there and you're dealing with people that are buying homes, I understand that it's like, well, it's got to stop at some point. Well, I understand, but maybe it slows down. But is it going to completely stop, and is it going to actually go into a complete collapse?
Well, it won't go into a complete collapse. I don't think that.
Let's hope
But you
not.
could see prices come down as
But do you think inflation is going to have anything to affect that?
I think we are already in inflation. Everything has inflation. If you
So the appreciation value is just going to continue to rise.
it definitely could. Inflation is a big thing, and that's what the Fed is really working on. Is they want to make sure that we're not going to run into runaway inflation.
Right.
They've signaled that they're going to raise rates next year. So,
Well, they're going to raise rates. I mean, but is it naturally that they have to? It's not. I don't know necessarily think they have such a. They can't really raise long-term bonds, right? You can't look at a long-term bond and they're like, well, they can maybe put a Band-Aid on the bleeding, but what they do is they use the Fed's fund rate to manipulate the economy, right?
right, that's exactly what they do.
Right, and so I think they're going to look at that first, and they're going to say, well, if inflation goes crazy, they can't really say, well, let's just stop it, right? It's not like we're going to put a dam and say, hey,
No, there's no off switch on
No.
inflation.
I wish
not.
they could with gas, though. Like, can there just be a cap on that? Because
Yeah, please.
I'm tired of paying like double my gas tank.
Yeah. So, and then, you look at the whole picture of just the economy as a whole and the market here. I always like to compare what's going on in Las Vegas and what is Las Vegas doing. Is it different than other markets? And we know it is, but how much different? And is it going to stay consistent? Because, this whole forbearance thing, they always say Vegas gets hit the worst, right? Just like we had when it was short sales, foreclosures, we got hit the worst. Rents, when people, couldn't pay their rents just recently, we're like one of the number ones. Overinflated market, right? Overvalued homes. We're we're in the top
you know
three.
why though, right?
Well, why is that, Esmeralda?
Because of the industry. We're a service industry in Las Vegas. So when the casinos were shut down, then that affects. Not everybody was
It's
able
the
to work from home.
tourists.
Yeah.
When the tourists don't come here,
yeah. So
then people don't get paid.
exactly.
Yeah, but is
So
it just the
everybody's
tourists?
got to come back. Come on.
Don't you think though that the Las Vegas is actually opened up to? So we're a small city now. We're not just tourism anymore.
Well,
we have construction, right? You have jobs that are opening up. People are moving their business here. You got Google, you got Yahoo. All these big corporations are starting to move their business here. Why? Same as Texas. They're moving it here to save on taxes, right?
Oh, certainly. The economy is
Florida as well.
diversifying quite a bit, but still, the majority is really tourism oriented. But you've got companies like Amazon. I mean, they're building warehouses out here.
That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so many companies are fleeing California for Las Vegas. They can just move over the border, and they are buying or renting property sight unseen. It's crazy. I've got a client who's a commercial real estate broker,
Sure.
and he says people they want the contract. They don't want pictures.
Right. Well, look, you go back, and I'm sure David can look at this as well. I remember back in 6 and 7 when businesses were starting to open up. There was places around where I was living where those little malls, those shopping malls, they actually started and halfway in, they stopped. Look at Resorts World, right?
Oh, how long did that sit?
Right. It sat forever because why? The consumer confidence, the economy, there was problems, real problems in the economy.
Yeah, and Fontainebleau still not done.
Correct. Right. And so you look at what's going on. Don't you see that this economy is starting to slowly progress to, hey, you know what? There's no real issue here. There could be a hiccup down the road, but it's not going to be a complete collapse. I think a lot of people are looking at this moratorium as being a collapse. You got investors. Talk to me about what's going on with the investors.
Yeah, so technically a recession is 2 consecutive quarters, right, of decreasing values.
Yeah.
So technically in the beginning of COVID, we actually had a recession. So if you look at the cycle of real estate, every 10 to 15 years, the values go up and down. In the beginning of the COVID period, we have 2 consecutive quarters of values decreasing. So that kind of reset the clock as far as we had 11 years of growth, constant growth from the 2008 crash. 2009, we had consecutive growth up until COVID, which was the first time we had 2 consecutive quarters of decreasing values.
Do you think, though, that these investors are really going to suffer? Like, what is the percentage that you think they're going to suffer at? Because I feel that there's outs for everybody in this. It's not like it was back in the mid-2000s. There's more opportunity with servicers. People are really trying to work with others to try to really make it work. I'm sure investors, if they had a mortgage, they're probably calling their servicer doing the same thing, going, hey, my people aren't paying rent. What do you think?
They can call me and I'll do the Airbnb for them.
There you go.
No, seriously, like that's my next move is, obviously vacation rentals are going to be huge in Vegas with everyone coming for games.
But Vegas is restricted in certain areas.
But
It is restricted in certain areas. I mean, look, you can
I'm not
do
going to
well.
do it in a residential area. I'm going to do it closer to the strip and
Probably like a condo or something is what you're talking about, or
yeah, but
something like a high rise.
I'm going to make it
Henderson,
cool. I'm going
you
to put a
can do it.
tree house in the backyard.
Well, there you go.
You could use You can do it in Henderson.
Henderson is good.
I did my homework on that.
But like that's the thing. It's a lot of research goes into doing an investment and then making it a vacation rental or an Airbnb.
Look at how you're thinking right now. You don't have any thought, and this is fine. You're a realtor. You have no thought that this is going to have an issue, this economy, right? And that's what I'm saying. Your mindset is completely different. I think a lot of people, when they saw all those things happening, they're like, you know what? I don't know if I can do this, right? Because I think this economy is not doing well. We see businesses not working out. Why would I want to invest in a home? But you're thinking, you know what? After the pandemic, we got the moratorium ending. We got a lot of things happening. Well, it's opportunity, but you also think that, guess what? If I buy this home, there's enough consumer confidence that people are going to rent that out. You got to think that people are going to rent that out and things are going to continue. Why? The government this year, and you guys know this, has supported and helped everybody in almost every way possible. So we did not go into a complete reset, right? We did. I think we did go into a recession. Mike, you can tell me, but I mean the economy was shut down, so yeah, we kind of slowed down. But
It stopped, yeah.
But people still work from home. Right, and things still moved. They didn't move quick. It wasn't like this, but they still moved.
It took a while for things to get moving, and it's amazing. I've talked to some of these companies, and they said, "Yeah, we had to source 5,000 laptops." That's pretty crazy when all these companies are buying all these laptops at one point. So it's definitely a big challenge. There we go.
Yeah.
Hi, Esmeralda.
Esmeralda,
Let's get that microphone out of your face.
Yeah,
There you go.
Hiding behind the microphone.
You're hiding behind the
Oh,
microphone.
sorry.
There you go. See
We,
how
we
you look?
want to see you.
I can't see
Yeah.
it, but okay.
But I do think that that's the issue, man. I think that a lot of people, like right now, they're thinking crash, they're thinking problems, they're thinking that this thing can't go the way it's going forever. And I don't know. It's dependent on markets. It's dependent on location.
Well,
and
people
where you're
have
buying and
people have a very short-term memory, and they say, "Oh, remember the last real estate crash?" Well, yeah, I mean, we all remember that, but the today's circumstances are totally different.
right.
Mortgages are made with realistic numbers, and so many people are paying cash. Who is talking about the number of cash? Esmeralda.
Yes.
Yeah. What's the number of cash buyers versus mortgage right now?
So statistically, right now, it's proven that 45% of deals are cash, and then the rest are
45% are cash.
Okay, so
45%.
there's 45% of the houses that will not get foreclosed on, right?
Right. I mean, who's going to let
And
that
so
house
you've
go?
got 55%, and we've seen that today's mortgage lenders are willing to work things out with people.
Well,
they don't want to
yeah.
have that happen again where they lost their shorts.
I agree. And look, equity. There's tons of equity in people's property. Why would you leave that? Also, people have had the ability to stay home. They're probably not spending money all of last year. They probably have more money in their bank than they had before because they're not really going anywhere. Yeah, they're starting to spend it. We get that. But they probably have liquid now, more liquid than they used to have. So there's more options. Look, we're not saying that we're not going to go through a reset or a recession situation where we're going to decline. But I do feel that the economy is not going to crash here. I don't feel like the moratorium is not going to lead to that. I think the only people that are really going to have an issue are the people, like you said, we were talking about with investors. And I don't even know how big that percentage will be. I don't think it's even going to be that big. I mean, what do you think? I mean, you're out there, you're talking to people. Do you see challenges with people buying homes today?
I think it's just getting into that mindset of people who want to get into a home and sit tight. They don't understand. I mean, obviously they want to take into consideration resale value.
Yeah.
But if you're making an investment in a home, you got to think of it long term. It could be worth $350 right now. It could be worth $500 10 years from now. We don't know.
Let me ask this question. Why do you feel that you're going to have equity? What makes you feel that you're going to keep creating equity? I'm just curious.
I mean, just looking at this home I just put an offer on, year after year or year over year, it was 2.5% increase. And each year the value has gone up. So, obviously it's going to continue to rise. They're saying another year or two, 70%. I don't.
Dan,
Go ahead.
Running at altitude had an interesting comment there.
Go ahead,
The
Mark.
wages are not matching the house and rental prices. So who's buying these if a lot of people
Well,
can't afford them?
Here's what I look at is you look at we did actually raise our minimum wage here. I believe we just
Yeah, we
raised
did.
that. Yeah. And what was that number? Do you know what that was here?
Isn't it
I'm not sure. I don't know the minimum
Google will
wage.
know.
Yeah, we'll know. But
circle
look it
back
up.
to me? I'm gonna Google it.
yeah, I mean,
don't
I
know
think
what it
he's
is
got a
either.
point. There is some challenge to that.
$12
I'm not
or
going to sit here and say,
$13?
yeah, I'm not going to say that we're not going to have that issue. But I do know that rents and mortgages are roughly getting very close. Where there used to be a bigger separation with rents in some locations. Now it's becoming where it's a lot closer. But I also look at the fact that when you have people moving here from another state and they're putting down a large amount of money, what about those mortgages? What are they, $200,000-$300,000? Well, that's only a $1,500 to $2,000 mortgage payment. So I guess the way you look at it is if you're going to put a large amount down, which a lot of people are, how many buyers do we have right now, David, that are conventional buyers willing to put down additional money? Go
That's
ahead.
Literally me.
Right.
Literally, the equity that we will get in selling our home is going to be a substantial down payment
Yeah.
to lower our mortgage payment.
And
Yeah.
going back to why 40% of the buyers are cash is because 40% of the buyers are coming from out of state.
Correct.
So that's why the people that are relocating from California, they're buying out here, and they're the ones that are causing the inventory to be, purchase cash. 40% of the inventory is because they have that equity coming from out of state.
So let's go back and let's talk about maybe other pockets, locations, Midwest, places like that, maybe where they don't have a desired place for people to go that are going to throw a bunch of cash. I mean, across the country, we've seen that pending home sales are up. Home sales and closed transactions are up all across the board. Is that going to stay continuous through that pocket or through that middle? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
I'm just going to say, I think it boils down to taxes. Like we said earlier, you're
Okay.
going to pay annual taxes in Chicago is going to be, 15 grand. You're going to pay 1,500 out here.
You think that's the biggest driving force is taxes? Like people coming from, I mean, look, if you're coming from California, I do loans with people. And we
Certainly.
talked about this. Some of those taxes are higher than the mortgage payments here. Like
It's insane.
The property taxes.
Oh,
And then there's
definitely.
no state tax here. So
Yeah.
that's a driving force. But I think what we're looking at is if somebody moves to the Midwest or someplace like that, let's say the average, income or the minimum wage is a lot less. Can they support those housing payments in those areas? Those, you know what I'm saying? That location.
I think we're unique because we have low taxes and we have a lot of opportunity because we're a tourism town. So if you go to other states like Arizona and Texas, they also have lower taxes. They don't have the same amount of opportunity as we do because we have such high tourism in this state. So I think that's a huge factor.
Yeah, I think we always have been on a roller coaster when it comes to the market, the housing market. But for here, it's just been constantly going up.
Well, there's also the retirement community. People love moving here.
Yeah.
They move from Michigan or some of these places where they
My
have to
family.
shovel snow, and
Yeah.
they come to Vegas. I don't want to shovel snow anymore.
You shovel snow?
No.
I used to, but I got
Did
rid
you?
of my
Yeah.
snow scraper. I
Yeah,
don't
there
even
you
have
go.
one of those anymore.
Well, I do in our cabin in Bryan Head, but I drive
yeah.
if I want to play in the snow.
Yeah.
But there are so many people who, when they retire, they move to Vegas because,
They're not going to pay in taxes.
yeah, I mean, it cuts taxes. The weather's much better. For a lot of people with arthritis, things like that, the dry weather is much better on them.
Yeah. Esmeralda, what do you think? I mean,
Florida's
taxes-
Florida's
ahead.
another state, you guys, that doesn't have state tax.
Income tax, yeah.
But they have spiders.
I
have
mean,
a
yes.
lot of
We
bugs.
have spiders,
There's
but they also have
alligators.
alligators, which is like a huge fear. So sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got
Continue.
scorpions, though. I
It's
got
true.
stung by a scorpion in my house.
Are you kidding?
Oh, yeah.
it's crazy.
Okay.
It was nasty.
I saw someone do a black light in their backyard
Yeah.
recently, a few
I
days
have
ago.
one.
They turned the black light on, and there were 3 scorpions on their back wall. I was like, "What?"
They love palm
You know what's so
Where is
crazy
this?
is I've only
Yeah.
seen,
and
I've
palm
been,
rats. I hear the rats up in my palms. I'm like, oh, what is that? Sorry.
I hate
No, it's-
creatures.
what's that?
I said I don't like insects and like creatures. Ugh.
I see spiders in my house, and we get it sprayed. Someone making a comment.
Yeah, somebody just said great show, had to leave. No worries, man. I appreciate it. Running Altitude is always on here, and they're always commenting.
I want to
appreciate
know what altitude they're running at, because I like to run, but
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, we'll have to hopefully you'll call in one day, right?
If I can dive aside.
But I mean, I think Vegas as a whole. I mean, you got, I think the
I like
market.
that name.
What, running at altitude?
Yeah.
You like it?
My wife's always training for the next Ironman.
What?
And oh yeah,
really?
she's nuts.
Can I have her information?
The next Ironman.
Can she train
Where does
me?
she train at?
Well, she likes to go up to Bryan Head and train up there. That's altitude, 9,000 feet.
Yeah.
Holy
Oh,
cow!
wow.
Yeah.
So
You don't tag along?
I am a professional Ironman spectator.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
You like to watch.
Yeah, I've got my cooler, got my beer, my comfy chair, and I
Right.
cheer her on. Yes, that's me.
Well, I mean, look, you look at overall in Vegas, and I think a lot of people want to know, like, where this economy's headed. And I think, what do you guys think? I mean, you
I
obviously
forgot my magic 8-ball.
Well, there's confidence in the economy, so I don't know. Like, what do you guys go through on a daily basis with real estate right now? I mean, are you seeing a lot of people still wanting to buy? Where even though that there's prices that are that 400,000 mark, that's kind of the sweet spot, right? Where you have to go above price. And so, are you starting to see where that's declining, or is it starting to pick up? Like, what is going on out there?
No, it's still picking up. I mean, it's not as high of an increase that we've seen before, like 20 to 30% increase month over month. So it's not as high of a demand, but it's still increasing. So we're still seeing buyers that are putting, 10, 15, 20,000 above list price on these properties. And they have to put 10 to 15,000 above the appraised value as well.
Can
Wow.
I chime in real quick?
Chime in. That's why you're here.
So list price was $690, and someone just put in $725, waived the appraisal,
Wow.
Oh wow.
So-
Waive the
That's a big-
appraisal.
and it's not going to appraise for $690.
Wow.
So
It was already listed too high
yeah,
to begin with.
yeah. So, I mean, I'm sitting here, I'm losing out on an offer. Like that's the reality. I could
Well, is
come in a little higher.
Yeah.
I could say, no, I'm going to do 726. But is it going to appraise for anywhere near that?
right?
Probably not.
Well,
So-
I think the problem you look at is people
Definitely
think
not. I did the research on it. It's not going to appraise for that.
it's
but
not going to praise.
Okay.
no, absolutely not. But are you willing to come out of pocket $50,000 to $70,000?
Well,
I am,
Well, look, you might be in a better place though than most.
but I'm also willing to work hard and
Sure, but
sell my soul for this.
so
Sweat,
people
sweat for those listings.
here's what I look at. I
Repeat
look at
The
that.
it like
unicorn
this.
of a
She's selling
home,
herself.
yes.
There
But
you
that's the thing that kind of flipped my mindset is you have to think about your quality of life. If you're willing to be in this location and have your family right across the street, or have your kids go to a certain school, or have the beautiful backyard that you've always dreamed of, are you willing to put in just slightly a little bit more than you should? Yes. Is it gonna break the bank at the end of the day? Probably not. You
Well,
know, like
It depends if you have the cash to cover that.
and I'm trying to think of it from other people's point of view. Obviously, like we all, at the end of the day, we just came out of a pandemic. A lot of us aren't working or are just now getting back to work. Me,
Yep.
especially, I'm trying to make up for the past year of not working. I was working, but not full strength like what I normally am used to
Right.
making.
Right.
So you just have to think of it like the bigger picture. Is it going to be worth it? That's kind of, as realtors, that's what we have to like make people understand is this, yes, probably not the riskiest or probably not the most logical thing, but is it going to, at the end of the day, be where you want to be? And that's the emotional side.
Well,
Sorry.
look,
it's
let's-
like weighing like the risk versus the reward. Is
Right.
it worth it? Yes.
Let me say this statistically, and I don't know what you guys heard, but I don't know if you guys heard this. So last week was the 4th of July weekend. Do you know?
I heard that.
So we were the number one. So we were the number one destination in nationwide.
Yeah.
Vegas was?
Vegas was,
Awesome.
and we had the
The
most
strip was
people,
insane.
more than New Year's. So with that, lets me know, right, that because that's such a high demand, I feel like that's getting people pumped up, right? It's getting people motivated. It's people are coming out, they're starting to travel and things like that. So I feel like that stimulates Vegas.
Well,
Vegas
That
is
aspect.
thriving.
It's thriving, but you got to also
tell-
think. Go ahead.
On the strip, we had a $90,000 bottle sale one night.
Wow.
Someone spent $90,000.
$90,000 on a bottle.
One bottle.
Of
What kind
what?
of bottle?
What kind of bottle was
Yeah,
that?
the pure gold.
I mean, Ace of Spades is made of gold.
Yeah.
Not really made of
Gold.
gold, but it's a
They
gold
actually
bottle.
bought that, huh?
A 15 liter.
Man,
yes.
what was the tip on
15-liter
18
bottle?
18
Wow,
grand
18 grand.
is the gratuity on
I
that.
wish I was
Wow,
selling the bottle.
$18,000 tip.
So over
I didn't sell
100,000.
it, but one of my coworkers did. So
But
kudos to her.
did everybody give a cut? Like I would be like, hey, you know what? I'm just, like when you win big, you kind of throw everybody a little bit just for
Yeah.
good luck.
Give 'em
I would
a-
do that.
I would
the
too.
point of
You're a nice guy.
the
I
point
would
of
do
that
that.
is
Would you give us hats?
Vegas.
I would
is
give you hats.
the right.
And I would give you
I
guys
don't-
a spot on the show every Tuesday.
Red bottle. I mean, it was red bottom.
Where's my hat?
Yeah.
That's what I want to know.
We did full force presentation for that bottle, obviously.
Oh, I can
But
imagine.
The whole point of saying that is Vegas is thriving. People are coming here and they want to spend their money. And they're
That's awesome.
They're
No, 100%.
they're paying well over what they should. At even just, the
So-
Cosmo is like double the rates.
It
normal.
goes back to what I was saying is you look at 4th of July and we're thriving, right? I was looking down and everybody was here spending money.
Mm-hmm.
Is it because people have saved money because of last year? They don't have all the things they spent on
Pent up demand.
pent
huh?
up
Yeah.
demand. I
Yeah.
think it's pent up demand. And you look at the problem. The problem is not here's what you look at. The problem is people think that the housing market is going to crash or go through somewhat of a recession. Here's the thing. They're waiting and timing this out. They think the moratorium, they think a lot of this data that's coming out is going to show that that's going to go to that direction. It's too big, too fat, or it just keeps going up. It's starting to get too big for anything to survive, right? It's like one of those things where you go look at cycles, you look at trends, and they think, well, the trend is we have to come back down at some point. I don't see the same trend that we saw before, and I think that's the thing. People want to spend their money, and the consumer confidence is there. So I
Definitely.
think
Yeah.
they're going to continue to buy homes, especially if we're at that gradual pace, not that the mid 2000s where it just jumped up. And if you look at, like I said, I'm looking at this arch, it's a complete different market, and so I don't know. I think
I think everybody agrees with that. It's completely different, but how long will it continue at that rate? I know they're just building houses like crazy.
Well, you have the data right there. You have everything to
Yeah, I
show
mean,
what's
Bring
going
that on the big screen.
Well,
there
Right?
we are.
There we are. So look, here's what you look at is
This is what we see as realtors,
Right.
what we have to go off of.
this
and-
right here. I mean, this is showing that this is an average sales price. I don't know if this is all 100% accurate,
So
but
about 400.
no, 4,000. What is that? No, about 400,000.
Yep.
You're
Yeah.
right. Yeah, 400,000. We just talked about that on the last show. And then you look at, let me see if there's some other information here. So it looks like you got, this looks like homes for sale right now. We're at 4,500. You said it's a little bit less though, right, David?
3,100 single family. So
Single
that
family.
doesn't,
So
it doesn't
this is
include condos and
total
townhomes.
on the market right now, right?
Condos and townhomes.
Okay, and then if you look over here, we also have, this is where, we looked at this one already. Let's look at this one. This one is average homes on the market, or the month supply. Sorry, the month supply, which is showing us 1.1 month supply.
Yeah.
How long has that been consistent at 1.1 month supply, though? I mean, is that something that, has it been pretty much that same number?
Yeah, we've seen that for about a year now. So about over 12 to 15 months, it's been consistent 1 to 1.2 month supply of inventory that we've had. So it's going on for about a year now.
Yeah. So do you see that this thing is going to start to increase? Everybody's looking for the increase. They're looking for the 2 month to 3 month. I was just on the last show and they said they're closer to 2 months. Is that accurate? I don't know.
I think we eventually do have to see it because on average, a healthy market is 6,000 to 8,000 homes on the market. And that's on average what we've seen in real estate cycles. So eventually we're going to get back to that point at some time. So with the inventory, with the moratorium expiring and the inventory coming back on board, we're eventually going to at least double the amount of inventory that we have now at some point.
Yeah, I mean, I see consumer confidence is there. Like
Let
you
me
talk
ask
to
this.
people
It's
on the
there.
strip, Sandy, you got a lot of people you work with and stuff. What do you go through on the strip? Because look, people want to know, what are the challenges? What are people saying out there? Is it harder to get a house now than it was, let's say 6 months ago? Is it?
No, I think the opposite. I think it's easier to get a house right now. It's just a matter of what people are willing to come in at.
Easier to get a house. I'm curious.
Versus
No, it's
3
fine.
months ago?
Could be. I think what it is, maybe it's easier to get qualified for financing And then at that point, it puts a lot more buyers in the pool.
I think it's easier to get qualified, but not as many people going that crazy about, not 100,000 over list price anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Yeah, the demand has come down a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's helping the people that are in the market, that
Yeah.
stayed in the market, it's helping them out because the demand has come down.
Yeah.
What do you see in the market, Esmeralda? I mean, I know you're out there. Look, the thing is,
So-
people just want to know like the facts. They don't want to be like led or be straight up. Like, do you think this
Fact.
market's going to collapse?
Okay.
Should we start packing? Should we start getting water?
Run. No,
I mean, stock up
I
on
don't
water.
think, I don't
but-
think that it's going to
Toilet
collapse
paper.
today.
No.
This is the thing. I do believe what goes up must come down. I do believe that. And I believe that will take place. I don't know when. I don't have a crystal ball. But we could only go with facts of what's happening today. So, right, what's happening today is that we don't see that right now. But what I do know is this, that based on some of the agents that I've been interviewing, I made a few calls and things like that, they're saying right now that they're accepting someone with an actual loan that will actually pay the difference with the appraisal versus somebody cash. So to me, that lets me know that the cash buyers don't have the power like they did maybe 2-3 months ago. And I think
And
that's huge.
that
And I
was
think
the
that's
offer.
gonna,
The cash buyers don't have the same leverage.
yeah.
Well, I think as financing, though, if you always have somebody out there that's going to get a loan, they're always going to be willing to take the risk to go above, right, David? I mean,
That was
cash
how
is
we
only going to go so.
structured our offer.
Yeah, cash is
We
only going to go so
structured it
high.
so
I mean,
we can be protected, but also we are willing to go 20,000 over appraised value.
yeah.
So that was obviously, you know, if you have someone saying they're going to put 725, waive the appraisal, we're out. But if no one else is willing to go above appraised value, then you
No,
can
but think
hope
about
that-
it. You're using someone else's money.
They're gonna
If
make
you only
20
come in
grand.
with 20 grand versus 720 cash. That makes more sense to me.
Certainly.
Yeah, I'll give you 20 grand all day and keep my 720 in the bank.
So you look at like we talked about the home equity. You look at other layers to why I think the economy is doing well. You know, you look at consumer confidence is a big one, but you also look at the employment. The employment's starting to creep up. You look in September, there's another program that's out where they're giving an additional $300 to anybody that's unemployed. And we talked about this. That's going to end in September.
It better end.
Well, that could be a big part
Certainly.
of why people go back to work. And I think all you're going to see is another acceleration of people going back to work and things starting to even get more normal, right?
We'll finally be able to get an Uber in 5
Well,
minutes.
that's crazy.
Oh my God.
Oh
Can we
my
please
gosh.
just like talk about Uber for a second?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
It's been insane.
Yeah.
We'll schedule an Uber and they'll cancel. And it's-
That happened to my sister.
Yeah.
She had to get to the airport, and she had like a 5 a.m. Uber,
oh no.
and they canceled on her at the last minute. It's like, what the heck?
Yeah. I
that's
mean,
not
look,
nice.
I you know, my girl just went and travel, or not my girl, my parents, excuse me, went and traveled to see family. And I'm going to tell you right now, I do not want to go back to the airport. That airport was terrible. Like the accessibility, people trying
You're
to pick up,
McCarran?
it was packed, you know, and it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
I think it's like I said, pent up demand. People are wanting to travel. They're wanting to spend. They didn't get that opportunity. When you take something away from someone, they're going to take it to the next level. You know what I mean? When they get that
Looking up.
opportunity.
The FOMO.
Yeah. And that's what it is. I see that
Fear of missing out.
fear of missing out. Yeah. I see that people are really doing that. I also feel the fear of missing out related to the housing market. I think that's one of the things. People know, okay, the problem is, should I buy now or should I wait? We're talking about the crash. Okay, here's the thing. People really are pushed into the market, possibly because we have a huge number of millennials coming into the market that maybe weren't ready to buy 5 years ago, ready to buy now, but they have a fear of missing out. If I wait too long, I won't be able to buy a house in 5 years because it's just going to be too expensive. And they might want to get into the market now. Are they ready? I don't know. Are these buyers ready? I don't know. But are they forced into that market because of fear of missing out? What do you think?
I think that's a good point with the millennials and the cash buyers. So we have a huge amount of cash buyers that come from California and things like that. That eventually is going to run out. The capital, all the investments that are coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the part of the slowdown that we're going to see is when those cash buyers finally the demand slows down. They buy all the inventory that's available, and the millennials come on board with the smaller reserves. You know, they don't have as much savings, and they can utilize financing, lower down payments. And those millennials are going to come in the market after the cash buyers start to slow down.
Right. Because typically those millennials were renters who now are realizing they want to build their equity, they want to build their capital assets. So when they come onto the market, they're trying to get in at a decent price, but they can get a loan. So they're coming with a loan, maybe not a substantial down payment. Maybe they're, doing some sort of incentive or, paying the PMI.
What was did your clients have any fear of buying when they were here? I mean, look, everybody's like, you know what? I think the whole process and the fear of missing out, like we've been talking about, and the crash and everybody thinking that something might change in the market, people are just getting pushed in and they're saying, you know what? I'll buy at all costs. But what are they really willing to buy at all costs? Or do they feel like they're a little bit nervous about the process?
Of course, there's anticipation of the unknown. There's a lot of anxiety that comes with it and stress, but also there's a sense of urgency. Like, this has to happen now. And from what we've seen in the past 6 months of the value increasing, prices still continuing to rise, I think it's like the sense of urgency is just, it's there for everyone. Everyone feels that stress of like, okay, I need to buy now. If not, in 6 months, it's going to be too much. You're going to get priced out of the market. And it's happening.
Yeah,
so
it's happening. If you guys are just tuning in, this is the French Workbench podcast. Please hit that like button. We need to get some. Please support the channel. We need some support, guys. Anybody
Show us
out
some
there,
love.
Show us some love. Give us some opportunity. We're here to try to give you guys some answers. If you guys have any questions, you can call in 702-557-6176 with any questions financing or real estate. Also, we have a financial planner here, so if you guys have a question about that as well. But we're talking about today the housing market and the fear of the unknown or the fear of missing out, right? Also, the market crash or potential crash, the moratorium crash. And look at the pending sales. If people were really worried about this whole process of this market going the other direction, why are we in such a high amount, or one of the highest amounts of pending sales we've seen? And it just keeps going up month over month. So I don't see how anybody's looking at this data thinking that this is going to change. What do you guys think? You guys think that this Las Vegas housing market is going to continue to increase these prices? What do you think?
Yeah, I think the consumer confidence is huge. It's a huge part of the Las Vegas market, and we're just seeing employment start to rise. We just had the new Resorts World go up, so that's
who's been in the Resorts
thousands
World?
of jobs.
Not
My
yet.
sister works there.
You were there?
Yeah, I went there.
what
How was
You were
it?
an invited guest.
You were?
VIP?
A super VIP.
No, I just went to go check it out. Some of the restaurants.
Dude, what's different about the Resorts World versus others? Can you pinpoint one thing out of that compared to other casinos?
I mean, it's pretty similar to like maybe Cosmo or Aria, some of the larger.
It's really elegant?
Elegant, modern.
LED, biggest LED.
Yep, biggest LED on the side of the building. So you have that. You have the day clubs, the night clubs, a lot of restaurants. The food. They actually had a DJ in the food court.
Do they have
they got like a live DJ in the food court there in the casino. So
which casino has a topless pool? Isn't there like
Mandalay
a casino?
Bay.
there's a couple of them.
Esmeralda knows. Okay, well, there you go.
My sister
When'd
works
you
in
go,
that.
Esmeralda?
Well, no, I
When
have
was
five
the last
sisters.
time you went?
I have 5 sisters, so one of my sisters actually works in the resort.
Right.
She's in the
okay.
pool, in the
Right.
day pool. And then my cousin's husband is a CFO for the resort. So I got a little bit of insight.
So let me say this. Do you think that's a popular thing to have that? Like as far as like the topless thing, it's more of a guy thing, right?
I worked at a pool back in the day, and I was bartender. And during the weekdays, we were topless. So not workers, but the guests of the pool were allowed to be topless.
Okay.
And
She had to make that clear.
I was never topless. Mom, Dad, no. I never had my top.
She's like,
Yo no.
wait a second.
But obviously, during the weekdays, it's not as popular as the weekends. So
Yeah.
it's kind of more of a chill vibe, European style. And I'll just say the people who are willing to take their tops off probably should not have. So it's kind of one of those things like.
Well, I mean, it's like one of those things where I think people are trying to make money, but I think, I don't know,
No,
Vegas.
I'm just saying like the people who wanted their tops off. It's like, no, put that back
Are they
on.
from Europe?
Because
Europe is like very popular and is normal.
Yeah.
The beaches, it's just like a normal thing. It's not weird.
I was going to say it's
seeing you
more of a
with clothes
cultural
on.
thing. I think.
Yeah.
It
Other
is.
parts of the world, like in Brazil, it's normal out there. Parts of Europe is normal.
Yeah.
So
Europe
even in
is
South
very
Beach,
normal.
in Miami and South Beach, they allow that as well there.
Yeah.
So the women come from Brazil and they just walk around in Miami and topless. It's like a it's a normal thing in their culture.
Yeah, I don't know, but I think a lot of people think, well, Vegas is just all about casinos and they all think about hospitality. But I really feel that Vegas is really starting to offer just everything. I mean, it has for a while, but you look at the outskirts, housing, you look at all the amenities, everything that's going on, they just keep going outwards. How far, I mean, I don't see it stopping for new homes. What's going on with the new home world? Like, you guys know that there's a waiting list. Like, is there people that, like, what builders are most desired? Let's just put it that way. And which ones have the most waiting list, right? Because
Toll Brothers.
Yeah.
Toll Brothers.
Toll Brothers?
Toll Brothers.
Yeah.
Even the high end Blue Heron,
Blue Heron.
custom builders.
It's gorgeous. They have
It's
some gorgeous
gorgeous?
houses.
Yeah, we're seeing the demand in all different price ranges.
Mesa
So I
Ridge
was
is
you know,
beautiful.
talking about this earlier. We have a client that's in the $3 to $4 million range,
Uh-huh.
and there's a brand new subdivision, Obsidian Blue Heron.
Oh,
Right.
I've been there and it's so nice.
Yeah, right in
Sorry.
Roman Hills, right, double guard gated community. And
Double.
Even
Whoa.
in that price range, the demand is still high. So we had, I believe they opened the subdivision with 35 lots. There's only 5 lots left in that subdivision. So the demand is huge even
Hey,
in that price.
Before
Roman
they're
Hills
even
is
built.
gorgeous. I'll take
Yeah.
Roman Hills, and it's older.
We toured
It's beautiful.
Askaya, and that's a company that they just sell the lots, and then you procure the buyer, or the builder. So literally, these people are buying just the lots, paying upwards of the $1 million range, and then you have to build on top of that, and it has to be within their what they
The
consider
guidelines.
desert contemporary. So it's insane, and
Yeah.
that's just starting at the $1 million range. So,
Yeah.
but you're in the hills. of
You're in the
Vegas.
hills.
The hills of Henderson.
Well,
That's going to be a thing soon, right?
I think so. I mean, where's the hot, like, you guys as realtors, I know you can't come out and say these are the hot zip codes, but where are those, where's the places that you would say are probably most desired by people that come here? And what are the new spots coming
You're
out? Because
saying-
people want to know, like, what's on the
Mesa-
new, right? What's around
The
the corner?
ridges, things like that.
We always get Summerlin, number 1, Henderson,
Yeah.
Green Valley, all different the subdivisions within Henderson. I think Inspirata is being overlooked. That's a huge community that's coming on board, and they already have a Station Casino Resort that's been purchased and planned out to be developed right there on the side of Inspirata. So that's going to be a master plan community that has its own. It's going to be kind of like downtown Summerlin.
Yeah.
All of West Henderson. So you're talking about from Inspirata all the way to the M Resort, going to the 15 where you go down to California. That's all considered West Henderson, and it's going to be a master plan community that's going to be huge.
I live
You know
there
what I
and
think
it's
is gonna
amazing.
be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's weird though, because you look at the average square foot price per square foot, and then you look at Las Vegas. Las Vegas is, I believe it was like $218, something like that, across not in one location, across Las Vegas. And then you look at, I looked at a couple of zip codes. So I looked at one in Henderson. Henderson overall is like $242 a square foot.
Right.
Right. So you see that $20 differences. Then you get to Summerlin.
280, 290.
I've seen it up to 318 to 320.
Yeah.
89135, 89134,
And they're old. the houses.
318,
89134.
and 89135. $318 a square foot.
Yeah.
Wow.
There's such a premium in Summerlin. Is it that much different, right? I mean, everybody always says, I just had somebody today, our client called me and say, hey, where's the best place to buy? And it's like, well, it's always starting off Summerlin, Henderson. I always say outskirts, North Las Vegas. Then you go to like places like, what is it, up here towards
Southwest, Mountain's Edge.
Mountain's Edge, but also
Southern
the
Highlands.
Southern
Oh, I
Highlands.
love Southern Highlands.
What's up near the Raiders, not the stadium, but where they work out at?
That's
That's
Inspirata.
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 Yeah.
Everybody always brings up Inspirata. They must
Yeah.
market the heck out of Inspirata because
Well, also
Not-
price per square foot is a little bit lower than Summerlin.
In Summerlin.
But
you get more
have
bang
the-
for your buck there.
You get more bang for your buck, but it's also a similar situation where they're building, just like downtown Summerlin just got built. You get all of Inspirata's being built up right now. There's so much potential. They're building. They have plans for all these restaurants, all this like. It's going to be like the next downtown Summerlin, and so people want to get in there before it's too expensive,
Sure.
before they can't afford it.
So we all know that I feel that the market's not going to crash. I don't think the moratorium is not going to lead to the market crashing. A lot of speculation on that. I think the data supports a lot of different factors. But I want to ask you a question. You guys are real estate agents, right? And everybody out there, well, not you. It's okay. And not you.
He's like, no.
You're a financial planner, but I'm going to actually ask you guys a couple of questions too. But I want to ask you this question is, a lot of people think that because you're a realtor, you're being pushed into the market saying, oh, if they ask you a question, oh, now's the best time to buy. Is there ever a point where there's not a good time to buy, or do you ever push back and say, you know what, it's just not right for you? And hey, you know what, you don't, because I think a lot of people think you're in sales, and it's all about that dollar. It's all about pushing that money and pushing like getting that production. But do you really look out for the client, number one?
Yeah.
I mean, you do, but let's just be honest. Like, is there a point where you guys look at it and go, you know what, like, what are your thoughts? Should you buy or shouldn't you? You know what I mean? Like,
I can just say, I think we have integrity, David and I, and like the rest of our team. We're not going to tell someone who can't afford something to go for something they can't afford. And it's up to the client. You have to be comfortable with what you're offering. If you know you can swing it, like just me, an example, like I'm going through this, so I can relate 100% to what my clients are going through.
you can relate to what?
If I can swing it, if I can afford to come out of pocket a certain amount to get this home,
Yeah.
then do it. But I'm not going to tell you if you can't to do it,
I
because
think-
I don't
yeah.
want you to be in a financial bind. I don't want to screw my clients over. I don't want to, we're not going to do that to people. And
It's not.
so-
I don't know if it's about screwing them over. I think it's more about, are you pushing them? Like you look. I think a lot of realtors look at it, including lenders, including everybody. They're looking at it as a sale, and I think what people want is that, especially people with data and information, and younger generations, they want you to give the facts. They
Yeah.
want you to say, "Hey, be upfront with me. Be real." There's some cases where you don't have people. Like I always say, this is not a biased show to say go buy. Everybody's not in a place to buy. But do you actually, like when you go through the process, do people actually say, you know what, give me your take on should I buy or should I not? Do they really ask your opinion? Or is it when they show up to see you, they've already made their decision? Because what do you think, David?
Yeah, no, technically I tell people not to buy all the time, based case by case.
Yeah.
So for example, the reason I say that is because if somebody's going into a transaction and then it doesn't appraise and they're $30,000 to $40,000 difference and they only have that exact amount in their savings, I tell them, you know what, this is probably isn't the property for you. We can continue to keep searching. Even though they do have the reserves, they're going to be tapped out, they're maxed out in how much they're going to invest into the property, and they might be willing to do that. I would be realistically in telling them there are other properties out there that might not have such a huge gap in the appraisal waiver that we can go after. So there are certain circumstances where that happens.
I think if you have to prove to somebody, like first off, somebody's not going to seek you out unless they're ready. Usually, right? Unless they're ready to buy. But if they seek you out and you're trying to buy a home, maybe there's a point where I think it's a judgment call to say, because I don't think anybody's gonna be able to sleep at night. Like if I'm a realtor and I'm out showing houses and I'm like, yeah, I'm just gonna push this person into buying a house. Even if they did close on a house, I don't think anybody can like live with, like, especially people I know, my sphere. I don't think anybody would want to do that. So it's got to be up to you. I think obviously is the timing right, but some of these challenges, I think, because they're not getting these offers accepted right away, or there's multiple offers, it is pushing people out of the market. I mean, it is pushing people on the sidelines going, this is too hard. Do I want to deal with this, especially if I got to move to another state, right? Is that what you feel? That's what you're seeing? Or is it just, hey, you never have that issue?
I'm seeing a lot of people on the fence of, breaking past their comfortability. Are they willing
That's the thing.
to
Right.
go through with it and afford it, or are they able to? And they have to come to that realization themselves. So it's us as an advisor. We're realtors. We're here to provide you with the facts. We're provide you with the information that we have, and then leave it up to you to make that decision. We can't tell you go for it, or we can't tell you no, you should. I mean, we can give our professional opinion, but we can't force someone to make a decision.
No, I think it's not I agree. I mean, I don't think you're forcing them, but I think it's more like if you're saying, hey, I need your honest opinion because you're in the market, you're in the trenches, you see it all day. Would you advise somebody at the possibility of a crash, right? Would you advise somebody that, is it really worth it to go above price on a home? I think it's not. I'll be honest with you. I don't think it's good to ever go above price, even if it's a primary residence, because I'm looking at it as going, well, if I can rent, but yet I'm going above, how long is it going to take? Even if you appreciate. Now, that's case by case, but my opinion is, why would I want to go above price? Why would I want to overpay?
I think there's a couple different factors with the primary. There's, like you said, sometimes there's family that lives in the area. So that comes with the price. If you want to live in a close subdivision to your family, you're going to have to pay a premium for that. That's a personal thing that you're going to pay for to have that. And it's case by case for everybody else. So if they're willing to pay the money to have that access to, whether it's close to work, close to family, kids are going to go to school in this
The
area.
unicorn of a home that you want.
Backyard is huge, has a pool, things like that. You're going to have to pay a premium because it's part of your personal life. It's part of the asset that you're investing in your personal life. So that's.
I'm a buyer. I'm coming to you, David. And I'm going to say, David, all right, we're going to play a role here.
Okay,
There you go.
great.
All right.
Here we
Role
go.
play.
All right, role play time. So
Are you going to Mike first to get your finances?
I think, I need to go to Mike first to get my finances in check, and Mike's going to give me the clearance. Mike gave me the clearance. So,
But what about you? You're the loan guru.
yeah, but I don't deal with the financial planning. I'm not a planner. I just give you the money and get out of your hair. Here you go. I'm out. You know what I mean?
Short term, he's the long term.
He's
That's
the
right,
long-term
yeah.
guy. So no, I look at it and go, you know what, David? Like if I came to you and say, you know what, David, I don't know if this is the right market, and would you advise me to actually overpay for a house in this market? Is it a financially wise decision? And what do you see? Why would I benefit from that?
So I think there's two factors that you have to look at: is the equity position that you're buying the property in, and also the cap rate. So for example, if you buy the property and it has a lot of equity in the house, and you're considering that the market might crash, like you're advising your client, well, what if there's a downturn? What if the values go down? That's when you look at the cap rates. So if your cap rates are high and the value does come down, for example, we do have somewhat of a downturn or a recession or a crash, and your home value does come down 30%, and your equity is now underwater, or the 20% down payment that you put in, now you're even, you still have the cap rate to fall back on as a backup, just in case. So if your value isn't there anymore, you can rent the property, you can still cash flow, your family's still there. You have other options like refinancing the mortgage and taking off either PMI or reducing the interest rates. So there's a couple different options that you have to advise your client going into the investment.
I think it also depends on what your goals are. Is this a place you're going to live for 5 years, 10 years? Is it your forever home? What is it?
Well, I think too, though, it's people always want to say they're not financial people out there. Let's be honest. How many people really know how the whole financial system works? How do all of economics? How does real estate work?
Taught that.
Well, there's
Should be taught in school, right?
right.
Yeah.
I mean,
It
we
isn't.
should, but
It's up to the parents to teach the kids.
Well, it's the parents, but what you're starting to see is younger generations are saying, look, there's more data and there's more information at my fingertips.
Right.
I'm going to figure this out on my own. You know what I mean? And I'm just going to take control of it myself, take the bull by the horns, if you want to call it. But you look at it, right? I mean, you look at the situation, and most people look at it and go, you know what? That's not financially a good decision to buy a house if you're overpaying for it. Now, you look at history. History has shown that markets always come back. Doesn't matter. Look at 2006, 7, and 8. It came back, right? I know it took a long time, but it came back. Investors came in. They bought a bunch of properties, yada, yada, yada. Mike, what do you think? You think that's a financial bad decision to overpay for a house or to go above price on a home, including knowing that the appreciation is going to, if it continues to go, you'll probably make that up.
I'll use myself as an example. So the house that I'm living in right now, we bought in 2008. And we really stretched ourselves, used up all our excess cash to get into that place. But we've been in this house for a long time now. And we're probably going to be there for another 5 or 10 years.
Yeah.
I'm going to have the house paid off. So, did it hurt at first? Yeah. I had to borrow money to finish the backyard because I did exactly what I tell people not to do. I used up all my cash to buy this house. But, we walked in and said, wow, this is the house we want.
Sometimes you have to do that, right? You have to say, you know what? Sometimes it's not about taking the most
Yeah,
conservative.
and I don't regret buying this house. It's been a great house. It's still a wonderful house for us to live in. So, it really depends on, what your goals are. Our previous house, if I had overpaid for that one, no, I would be very unhappy for that. But that was never going to be a long-term house. It was just, okay, we're going to live in this house for 5 or 10 years. And we did. And then we bought this house, and we were at a point where, okay, we got a fair deal on it, probably paid a little too much, for our budget, but we got a fixed rate note, and the payment was affordable, and we're still there.
So is it financially wise to overpay for a house then? Or is it more of a personal decision?
Again, it just depends. If this was a rental, it would have been a bad idea. but it was our primary residence, and it was a place that we've lived in for a long time now.
What do you think, David? You think buying an investment property is a bad idea to overpay?
No, going back to his point, another personal example that we have is I purchased a property in 2006 at the absolute peak of the market and paid the premium price for that property. And at that time, it was $250,000 for that property. And now what we're talking about is the long-term investment. The property now has equity. I had a negative cash flow in the property for about 4 years.
Yeah.
So I had to pay about $300 or $400 above the mortgage just to cover the payment because the rent wasn't covering it for about 4 years. I had a
Right.
negative cash flow in the
Wow.
property just to hang on to it so I didn't lose the property. But because I did hang on to it for so long, now I'm in the position where I'm cash flowing $500 rather than paying that out of pocket.
Right.
And now the property has almost $50,000 in equity.
Esmeralda, would you overpay for a house in this market? Honestly.
I think if it was my personal home and it was a home that I loved, right, that I knew like this is my long-term home, I would do it. And the only reason I say I would is because like I lost my dad in February.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, and he didn't take anything.
He didn't leave anything?
No, like when you die, you don't take nothing. So if you have the money and that's like your home and you love it and you like, Sandy, you said like, hey, I love this backyard. Like I knew from the moment I saw the backyard, that's what I want. And you know that you can actually afford to do it. And I think you should. Because you have the means to do it. Now, if you're in a position where you know you're not going to be able to, you can't sustain that. And yeah, it's maybe your dream home, but you're not in the position, then probably that's not a good idea. But if you are, I think you should, because I think that you don't know what tomorrow will bring. But if financially you can, then
You too,
I don't
Sandy?
think you'll lose.
Can I just like hug you for a second?
Yeah.
Oh.
That is my mindset also because you can't take anything with you. And
You just
If-
don't.
you're paying for a quality of life. And if that's worth it to you, then you're willing to do whatever it takes to get in the home. And if you can afford it, then do. That's like where I'm at right now. I'm like about to put in a counter offer and say, okay, 7:30, let's go. But obviously it's a stretch. You know, a lot of people can't be in that position. So you have to think about it case by case. Can you afford it? If you can, is it worth it to you?
Yeah.
Is it worth it to you to have your family grow up next to your family? You
Yeah.
know, like, and have this beautiful unicorn of a home. So
Yeah.
I think that's kind of what people have to see and realize. Is it worth it? Then are you giving the value that's necessary to the home? Or are you just looking at the cost and you're scared of the cost?
Well, I mean, I think that's a big part of it. I really do. I mean,
Traumatized.
I'm emotional right now.
Oh my gosh. Do you need a hug too?
We hit
I
some
need a
spots.
towel, man. Hold
Here's
on one
another
second.
shot,
Let me
please.
get one of
Right. I know.
Everybody take one shot.
these.
for this.
Yeah. Man, you really brought it out in us today, Sandy and Esmeralda. So look, I get it, and I think you can't keep everything. I agree, and I think when you make these investments,
Oh, you got me on there doing that. Sorry.
Yeah.
what's
That's
that?
right.
That's all
Cheers,
right.
everybody.
I think
Cheers,
it's-
everybody watching.
That's all right.
It's been
Cheers.
an emotional day. I put an offer in
Hey.
a house today, so
That's good. Did you get it
cheers to that.
accepted?
Not yet.
TBD.
TBD.
It's-
Well, we'll do a congrats next week if you're on. Okay, so
We'll just put it out there that you're gonna get it.
Give me some positive vibes, you guys.
positive
There we
vibes.
go.
No, I agree. I think you got to buy a house like with emotions, but I think a lot of people too, like you said, you know, they're looking at the financial side of it and they're looking at is it a wise investment. Sometimes you don't need to. You don't want to. I mean, you want to put that in, but that might not be the deciding factor.
Well, it's nice to have a realtor or someone outside looking in, because that was kind of the other reason why we had, you know, our other family like be an overseer of the whole process. Because for me, I would be like, 750, let's do it. You know, and
780, 800, yes.
and that's not good.
No.
But for me as a professional looking at, you know, another person's situation or my clients, I'm like that outside factor looking in.
You take the emotion out of the.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm extremely emotional right now. And like, you know,
Sure.
I want this so bad. But when I'm working for a client, it's kind of more, you're the outside.
Okay, think about this logically.
Yeah, I'm the logical solution. So
But you got to
And
find. Yeah, go ahead, David.
That's another aspect that people don't realize. Like you said, going back to your point, they think realtors are like kind of like used car salesmen. We're just pitching
They
houses.
really
to sell.
do, man.
And they don't see the emotional side of the process. There's a lot of emotion, family involved that we have to deal with.
I'll tell you right now.
It's a
Especially
huge
the
emotional
Hispanic.
investment that the client's making. So we're not
Literally on the verge of tears right now. so-
exactly.
Do you think-
We're not just advising the client on a financial investment. We're also advising them on their emotional, their family aspects of behind the property. So that's, I think, half of the process.
Do you think that they get this, realtors get this, I guess you want to call it stigma, if you want to call it, right, of being a used car salesman because of what happened before? Like, is that a contributing factor of why people have, like, sometimes they have an arm's length to a realtor because
It could be the mortgage lenders, though.
Well, let me explain.
Oh.
Yeah.
100% correct.
That's what was behind them, right?
Well, so let's talk about that, because I think a lot of times with lenders and realtors, they kind of go hand in hand.
Right.
And
They
you
have
look
to.
at a lender, and we're going to go back to what you do, because I know you're in the nightlife industry. I think a lender is more like a bartender, right? We're giving a drink that we're serving somebody, but we don't come up with the drink. A CEO or a bank does. So we're giving this opportunity. Now, there is ethics involved, and there's things that go on with that, right? But the same with a realtor. A realtor has a certain amount of ethics too, because when you're emotionally involved, just like you are in buying a home, now it's like a decision, like, is it, you don't want to be that person that's trying to convince them. You want them to be supportive, right? You
We
want them
facilitate.
to empathize.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's where it comes in, is realtors and lenders, probably because of the crash, and they were the ones selling and doing all the work, they probably think of it as like, dude, it's not a hard industry to be in. I think it's one of the hardest industries. You're self-employed.
Right.
You don't have a lot of opportunity when you start. You got to really make, chicken soup out of chicken, you know what, right? And so that's it, right? I mean, you just don't have a lot of opportunity. I think it's a hard thing to deal with. But, we're not, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean, you think there's a stigma out there that realtors,
I
they're
think
used car salesmen.
I think at one point there was everybody who was a realtor or a mortgage broker.
There is now.
Well, back in 2006 and 7, I remember sitting in this room, and this guy comes in. He's a bus driver for the school district,
Right.
And he was talking to his friend. And he says, "Oh yeah, I do mortgages now. Look, I got this fancy calculator, and it'll calculate your payment." And I'm just thinking, the guy's a bus driver. I mean, not that he can't do this, but you're a part-time mortgage broker now.
Let me ask you this though: is it because it was an easy way to make money? I'm not saying it's an easy way now. It's really hard.
It's
But
much
there's-
harder now, but
there's a
anybody
blend.
could do it back then.
Right. Is that why though? They think that anybody could do it and really can be successful at it.
Well, I think there was a lot of problem with ethics and stuff like that. Now it's a lot harder to be a mortgage broker, isn't it?
It's a lot harder, and that's why when we talked
I mean,
about, you look at the
licensing
crash.
and
Yeah.
all these things have changed since then.
Yeah.
And so I think there are a lot of people out there who just said, "Oh yeah, buy the house, whatever it costs. It doesn't matter because you'll always be able to refinance it later on."
Yeah, I mean, you look at the lending practice as a whole in today's world, it's definitely more restrictive than it was back in the mid 2000s. You look at the mid 2000s and it was, loosey goosey type situation. So I think lending practices, that's another reason why I feel that graph that we see that's gradually going up, even though the housing prices are going up, pending sales are going up, it's in part due because I hate to say this, but there's a lot of correction that's happened from previous situations that were a
certainly,
problem.
and that's why it's a gradual
Correct.
increase,
Correct.
not a
right.
hockey stick. That's what they call it.
But do you feel like realtors or used car salesmen are the stigma because there's so many out there, David? Like, honestly, like, is there people out there that are like, dude, you're a realtor just like anybody else. Everybody in their has a realtor, knows a realtor, or is a realtor.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it goes back into like the 2006 market where there were a lot of realtors that had easy financing, so they were able to just sell houses to anybody. People that were working at McDonald's were buying, 2 or 3 properties at 100% financing. So that went back on the realtor thinking, okay, they're just selling stuff to them. And then the market crashed and there was a ton of buyers that were underwater and went into foreclosure and lost a ton of properties. So we're seeing a lot of realtors come into the market now. But like he was saying, the licensing and the qualifications in place are starting to go up.
Yeah.
So coming October, it's going to be 120 hours now of school to get the real estate license rather than 90 hours. So I think that's going to help out the industry.
Okay. Give me a market update real quick because I know we're running out of time here because we got to go into this. I want to get a quick market update with the real estate side of it. So what do you see out there? Where home prices headed? What do you see with the economy here? What do you think is going to happen?
So the median home price is now at $394,000. We're creeping up on $400,000. The inventory as of this morning is 3,100 homes, single family residence. We have 5,100 homes in pending status, in contingent status. So that's 1.2 months worth of supply in the market. So I think we're heading into a healthy market. We're going into the summer, which is typically the hottest time for people to buy and sell real estate. So, the kids are off into vacation. So it's a really good time for people to buy and sell. So I think right now the market is going to continue to increase.
Do you think we're going into a recession? Honestly, tell me the truth. Don't just tell me because you're, what do you think, man?
No, I don't think it's anytime soon. I think once we have the moratorium, when it finally expires, if they don't keep kicking the can down the road and keep extending it, once it finally expires, we'll have a better gauge of what's going to happen with the inventory. We'll start to see, I believe, like we're talking about, the investors are going to start to put their properties on board first, and then the primary homeowners, we're going to see them either modify or come to some kind of an agreement with their bank as far as keeping the property or putting it on the market. So the next couple of months is really going to dictate how much inventory and how high the supply and demand is going to go.
Well, haven't the rules for foreclosure changed? I mean, like 10 years ago, they put a kibosh on it. Oh, none of this robos signing and all that stuff.
Right.
It's a lot more complicated to foreclose now.
Foreclose on
isn't it?
somebody,
Yeah, I don't think banks want to foreclose.
Yeah.
No, they
really
don't.
They lose money there.
They put a lot more protection for the
certainly.
consumer.
Yeah, I mean, the house across the street from me in 2005 sold for about $1 million, and that was 2005, and then about 2009 or 10, short sold for $435.
Wow. Yeah.
They took it in the shorts.
Yeah, I
don't want to do that again.
I do feel that properties are opening up, and I do feel that there's more opportunity coming. It's not in abundance. We're not seeing crazy numbers. It's not like things are just starting to come back the way it was. If you look at a market that I look at that was actually really healthy and natural and normal or somewhat normal, it was 2017 and 18. It felt like rates were at 5%, right? Everything just kind of seemed like it was flowing. The economy was doing well, and I felt like it was more of a normal style market, and that's why you saw rates creep up a little bit. And I feel that we're still in this artificial market to a point because of what's going on. But I don't know. I think that, do you think that prices will ever hit 500? And what do you think the average median price point of a home will be going into the end of the year?
I think we're going to get very close to, a little bit over 400 until we finally see some of the inventory open up, and that's going to either plateau. I believe we're going to plateau at that price point. So once we hit, I think in the 415 range, 415,000, the median price range, we're going to plateau at that price range, and then we're going to get a lot more inventory, and that's just going to help balance the market.
All right, last thoughts. I'm going to talk with Mike here for a second. Your last thoughts on the market here, Sandy, because I wanted to bring you in here. I know you had to step out, but what do you think the market's going to do?
Trying to get that offer done.
That's all. Get your offer accepted. Get that offer accepted.
I'm willing to do it. That's the thing. You have to really take a step back and think financially. Is it worth the risk? Yeah. So that's my last thought on that.
And for you, it is.
If you guys saw this backyard, like I don't know if your backyards have grass and a pool, but mine doesn't right now, and I'm like willing to pay this much. Yours does.
No. I don't have a pool.
But that's the
I
thing.
don't want one.
No, pools are desirable, right?
And they had a unicorn floaty in the backyard, and I was like, "This."
Oh, that's what sold it.
I know.
That's why you're getting it.
They
right?
knew, like
they
I was
knew
coming.
what you wanted.
Yeah, I could just picture myself being on this like unicorn floaty. It's evil, but it's smart psychology.
There you go.
We're going to jump to Mike here real quick. I want to have Mike come on here. He's going to talk about the Book of Gold. He has the Book of Gold.
Well, it's called The Richest Man in Babylon.
Okay.
And this book is actually written in 1926.
Really?
1926, a guy named George S. Clason. And it's this great story about this guy who he's trying to figure out how to make money. And it's really interesting. Esmeralda said, you had read it before, right? Yeah, a long time ago.
I read books. Like,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, hey,
And
let's get
it's
badass,
really-
get badass.
Yeah, but he's got these 5 laws of gold.
Okay.
Okay, and he's not just talking about accumulating gold, but accumulating wealth. And the first one is you want to save 10%. Okay, and then the second one is you want to make that money work for you. You don't just put it in a savings account or tin can in your backyard. And then the third law is you invest in things that you understand. Okay, that's something that Warren Buffett always said: invest in companies you understand, because when you start getting outside your area of expertise, things happen, right?
Yeah.
And then invest it in with people that are, let's see, wise men.
Yeah.
So, a good financial advisor or a good realtor, you want to do that. And then don't expect impossible earnings. Okay, so don't go buy a rental house and expect a 20% return, or buy some stock that you think is going to continue to go up forever. But this is really a great book, and these 5 laws really are a good thing. Can I give a copy away?
Yes, give a copy away.
All right. If you email me, Mike at peakfinancialsolutions.com.
I love it, Mike.
I've got a couple of these, and
Can I get a copy?
Yeah.
here you go. You can have that one. There you go.
Look at this.
First
man.
one,
My
yes,
very
there we
first
go,
one. I
yeah.
appreciate it, Mike.
Yeah.
You're the man, dude. And it comes with your own
with your own cliff notes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's notes.
that's the thing.
And a divider.
Well, and look on the front cover there.
Yeah.
I got my little sticker there.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah, see,
Good for
see
you.
right there. Oh, there it is.
Look at this.
Yeah.
This is set up proper. Right?
Yeah,
Let
now
me
you
ask
know where you
this.
got
Would
it.
when you have people come in, do you ever ask them to? I mean, do you not ask them, but do you advise them? Is there ever a point where they don't need financing, or they're like, a lot of people, they say, financing is not a good way to invest, like to go get a loan. Like I think getting a mortgage, you're looking at the long term position.
Certainly.
But I think a lot of people, when they talk about loans, they don't really, they think like, oh, well, getting a loan is not the best way. Is there ever a point? Because I can't
Pay cash for a house,
just getting a loan in general. Like, for instance, if somebody takes out a loan, like a personal loan,
Sure.
right, or getting a student loan, are those really things that are wise investments? You know what I mean?
It all depends on the situation. We see people borrowing money for an education and getting like a art history degree.
Yeah.
Is that going to pay off? I don't know. You don't want to borrow too much money on that. Are you going for an MD or a law degree?
Right.
Yeah, borrow as much money as you can and get that degree. It all depends on the situation.
Gotcha.
They end up putting a $100,000 piece of paper in the drawer
Right.
and never using it.
Yeah, and when you're borrowing money, you only do it when it makes sense. So,
You guys got any last thoughts? Anything about the housing market? Anything about financing, real estate?
are we all going to die?
No, I think this is good. We're having a group conversation about different topics as far as
Yep.
what's going to happen. And, like I said, if you guys haven't tuned in or you guys haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. Also like the channel, support the channel. If you
Yes.
guys have people out there, we just want support. We're trying to be here to give you guys advice, information if you need it. And we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers. I only have, I think, 182. So we got a long way to go.
Yeah.
So we need to get
And
there.
don't keep us a secret.
Yeah, don't keep
Share
us
it with your
pass the
friends.
information.
Yeah. Yes.
Let everybody know this is the spot for the most updated information
And it
for
what
financing
is it?
and real estate.
What is it?
Sandy
No, no.
sweats.
No, the,
What?
no, the happy
Is
hour.
that your slogan?
The happy hour.
The hot market happy hour.
Hot Market
Hot
Happy
Market
Hour.
Happy Hour.
That's right. We're going to rename this, aren't we? Hot Market Happy Hour. Tell everybody. That's where it
I was
is.
like,
Hot market happy
Oh
hour.
my
Every
gosh.
Tuesday.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Hot. What is it?
Hot market happy
Happy
hour.
hour.
All right, guys, we're going to end the show. Thank you guys for tuning in. If you guys have any comments, comment in the comment section. Like I said, smash the like button. Mike just commented. If you guys have any questions, we're here
Sure.
anytime to answer those questions. You guys have a good rest of your week, and I'll see you guys back here on Saturday. Thank you for watching an episode of the French Workbench Podcast. If you want to tune into past episodes, please subscribe to my channel now. Also, if you want to look at our audio-only options, we do have iTunes and SoundCloud.